Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 32nd Stately Office Hours. This is our little weekly chat where we talk to you about what we've been working on at Stately and on XState. We answer any of your questions that you have, or you can give us any feedback you like. If you'd like to do that, you can always join us on our Discord, which is at discord.gg/xstate. We have a dedicated office hours channel in there. You can always tweet us at StateTheAI, or just let us know in the YouTube comments, and we get those in live, so it's pretty cool. We can put them on the screen as well. So to kick off, we'll do our introductions. I know I do this every single week, but it's just in case you're new and you don't know who we are yet. My name is Laura, and I do developer and designer advocacy for Stately. David?
Hi, I'm David. I'm the founder of Stately, creator of XState, and I've never been a senior developer, apparently. I just realized that today.
Well, I think next up we'll go to our most senior developer, Matthias.
Hi, I'm Mateusz. I'm a senior debugger at Stately, and I enjoy what I do.
And Matt.
My name's Matt. I'm a developer and no longer just a developer. I'm in fact a developer advocate at Stately.
Hey.
I call myself there, which is quite exciting.
Mhm.
So I've changed from being mostly engineering and a little bit of dev advocacy to mostly dev advocacy and a little bit of engineering, which is fun. So yeah, I'm going to be writing more blog posts, doing more talking on Twitter, which is something I like doing. And yeah, me and Laura are furiously rewriting the XState docs at the moment, which is quite a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're looking
it's
amazing.
really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good fun. I'm learning a lot actually in the process as well, so it's definitely very helpful. So first up, David, would you like to talk about what you've been working on this week?
Sure. So I'm going to show a quick demo of something that is coming out. It was just merged into XState Core recently. It's something that a lot of people, especially Matt, have been asking for a while, and it is a helper. This helper is going to allow you to basically wait for actors to, emit a certain value. And so this is extremely useful in server-side situations. I made sort of a contrived example. We have a machine here where, I could describe the code, but let me just go to the viz and do that. Just to show you what this looks like. Oops. Here we go. All right, so this is just a simple machine that after 3 seconds, it goes to the active state, and then it goes to inactive. Now, you could imagine this as sort of like an async service being invoked, and eventually it reaches some states. Like this state might not be a final state, like it's not over here, but still you want to wait for the service to reach the state and then do something with that result. So we now have a helper called waitFor. So if you import waitFor, this hasn't been released officially. Right now it's in, it's just in the main branch, but it will be released pretty soon. But the usage is you import it from XState lib waitFor. So this is not part of the main bundle. It's definitely opt-in. And so now let's say that we want to wait for this active state. So I'm just going to put it in this async function. You will await, waitFor, you pass a service, you pass in a predicate that says when this predicate is satisfied, then I know that I have the value that I want. So I'm just going to say state.matches active. And you could also specify a timeout. We're not going to do it here, but you could say like timeout, 1 second. Which this will happen after 3 seconds, so that timeout will happen. And so let's just do our favorite debugging trick. This is going to make Mateusz mad, but we're going to send an alert. So we're going to say alert, it is active. So now when we run this after 3 seconds, it's going to show it is active. And so this is really great for server-side scenarios when you want to treat your your state machine, or at least part of your state machine, as a promise. And so it makes it really easy to do that. Now, of course, you could have done this in user land. However, as Mateusz did, you could see the PR, there's a lot of edge cases that we actually have to do, like what if the service actually has reached that state before? What if the service finishes without ever having reaching the state, etc. So we've covered all those edge cases in there. And when this is released, we're so excited for you to actually try this out, especially in server-side scenarios or in the front end if you want to use your state machine as a promise. So that's waitFor.
So exciting. It's especially cool for, you mentioned I've been sort of waiting for this for a long time.
Yes.
It's so cool. I had to write one of these functions myself for when I was putting XState into Lambda functions, for instance, that always have a defined start and end. You know, XState is really, really great in the front end where you always have a defined start, you know, it loads the browser, but you don't always have a defined end. You know, the user could just keep that browser window open forever and ever and ever, you know. Whereas when you do need to wait for something, I've just got the Hamilton song, Wait For It, stuck in my head as well. Then, yeah, this is perfect for that. And again, with like a function that's kind of blessed by XState core and especially blessed by the holy hand of Mateusz is going to be pretty good, I think.
Yeah, so that's super exciting. There's another thing that's still under review, and it's still a work in progress, but I did want to show it off. And I've spent the last few weeks, or basically the research Mondays that we have, redoing XState test. And so the main goal of this was to make it a lot more flexible. And so I've been researching what the community has said about the usage of XState test so far, and have also talked to Matt a lot about it. But there's a lot of changes in here. So for example, now you could use a normal machine, specify the states separately, like I'm specifying, here's how I test a loading state, a success state, and then, maybe any other state that's not tested explicitly here, I could just match that state. Events are pretty much the same, but there's a lot of cool things in here, and I don't want to take up the whole office hours talking about it. You could do custom plan generation. You also have custom coverage, so you could even make custom coverage predicates. For example, we have state coverage, transition coverage. There's some safeguards for preventing like infinite traversal, which has been a little bit of a problem. And overall, this is just a much more flexible way of using model-based testing in any application. And yeah, using state machines to define your model and having a really clean way of testing those states.
This is so cool because before, especially in XState test, you would have to, for those who've used it before or for those who haven't, you would basically create a state machine. You would have inside your states, you would have something called meta.test, and you would have to add that in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't type safe, first of all, so you wouldn't know kind of what it was supposed to do. It wouldn't save you from typos or anything. And also it was kind of co-located with the machine that you were supposed to be testing, So what it meant is you had this kind of like huge, great machine where you couldn't quite tell the wood for the trees. You couldn't quite see the overall state of the machine and overall what it was supposed to be doing because it was just filled up with all these tests and implementation details. So this is really exciting to kind of separate the tests out and also to improve some of the pathfinding functions as well to make it more, make it run faster actually, and also make it smarter in terms of coverage.
Yeah, that's still a work in progress, by the way. A really, really fun thing about that where Matt and I were talking about like, okay, if we're testing path to A, then path to A, then B, and then path to A to B to C, it's like, why not just test the ABC path and then, like not test the other ones because they're already implicitly tested by just traversing the longer path. And so I still have to implement that. But while doing that, I was thinking of path generation where you basically find the longest paths that, that traverses many states and transitions. Apparently that's an NP hard problem or something like that. So it's not easy to do, but it is fun to think about. So yeah, that's something that's also coming up soon. Yeah. And so one more thing to mention is that we also recently merged, I'm not sure if this is released yet, but Mateusz has worked on React 18 support. So XState React was basically rewritten to use the new use sync external store hook. which allows you to safely use, well, external stores within React 18, which takes advantage of those concurrent features that React has introduced. So, yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about Mateusz, but not too many changes.
That is going to be released soon, I guess. But like mainly it just brings compatibility with React 18, but like the basic one, because we need still to figure out like the rehydration story for fast refresh and strict mode. This solution is a little bit simplistic in that terms, but at least like it shouldn't lie to you. So that's good, and we need to research the server-side story because that gets a little bit complicated, and like I'm actually unsure how we are supposed to do that. So I need to reach out to the React team, I think, for an advice.
All right, awesome. And so yeah, that's all of our open source stuff to share, I think.
Fabulous. That we have to give some appreciation to this pun from Eric. The holy hand of Mateusz is connected to the under wrist.
Awful.
That's hilarious.
This week we wanted to talk to you a little bit about swag. This is coming from Jenny, who's not on the office hours but is invariably probably watching us. So hi, Jenny. And so Jenny's been planning out some cool swag to share with people, particularly at events. And you know that we're going to be at a lot of events coming up in the next few months. And so what we did was we asked everyone, what swag do you want from Stately? And we've got some limited ideas so far and lots of crossover. So I thought I'd just go through them quickly. First of all, notebook. Another notebook. Notebooks all the way, maybe with some classic examples similar to the grid books, but specifically for nested states, parallel states, etc., to make convincing colleagues easier. And BK Space wasn't alone in this idea. As also Nick said, an offline version of the Stately editor as a graphing notebook would be neat. I think that would be really cool. It's something that's quite tricky to get printed, but I think it's definitely a cool idea for the future.
I think at least having. Oh, sorry. I think at least having grid notebooks would be great.
Yeah, I'm a grid notebook fan. I don't like a blank one. I need some lines to help me write straight. Dallas says, I'm a t-shirt and notebook guy. Adam for shirt. John for t-shirt and hoodie. So getting a bit warmer for those cooler climates. T-shirt would be great. Oh, that one's underneath, so we can't see it. Sorry. It was another t-shirt vote. T-shirt and another t-shirt. We also have votes for socks. So Timon says, looking at myself, most swag ends up unused, which is a waste. That said, the best swag I've ever received are those Sketch socks. They're just so pretty and durable, even if you're not familiar with Sketch. I love Sketch. It's a good app, that. And so there's some good socks. And of course, Jenny voted for socks as well. I have a funny story about sock swag. So 2019, I spoke at the Framer Loop conference in Amsterdam, and I had to walk from the hotel to the conference venue, which was probably not even a kilometer. It wasn't very far, but it absolutely chucked it with rain, and I think I was first or second speaker on, and my shoes and my socks were so drenched with water that I just ended up taking them off and giving my presentation with bare feet on stage. But afterwards ran up to the wonderful Netlify stand where they had some really comfy socks. And so I got some comfy Netlify socks and wore them for the rest of the day. So they came in very useful. They really saved me that day. So it's always useful to have those at a conference. And we also had suggestions. So Martin said, would definitely get a t-shirt or hoodie, but I wouldn't say no to a coffee mug with filled and empty states either, which I think is a cool idea. And then Keith and I brought this cursed image into existence, so I thought I had to share it. Because who doesn't want a mug with Matt's face on it?
Me, I don't. Imagine. Here, please, take some tea.
And Michael says, mugs. Always mugs. Keith and I mean, no surprises after having made that mug image. Stickers and t-shirts are his favorite items. And Smooty also had an idea of some kind of knick-knack that can be modeled as a state machine. So if anyone has any fun ideas for that, I'm not really sure what knick-knack, unless we're starting to introduce electronics into swag. A bit complicated.
Give away microwaves. Might eat into the budget a little bit.
Oh,
So
is it
actually-
the classic watch example from the original state charts paper?
Rolexes for everyone. Perfect.
So our own Jenny and Gavin actually talked about those fidget toys. I don't know if you've ever, played with them. They're like little cubes. They have little switches on them. Parts of those can be modeled as a state machine, but
Yeah, that's cool.
I think when Jenny showed me the fidget toy, my response was, WTF is a fidget toy. 'Cause I had never seen one in my life.
just when you're bored, you need something to press and whatever. Like I have my little, mechanical keyboard here. That's my fidget toy, basically.
So I'll have a look at some of the suggestions that we've got here in the comments. Oh, Eric said index cards, corkboard, and yarn so we can make state charts IRL or track the local murders. I think by the sounds of things.
It makes me think of that Always Sunny meme where it's like Charlie
Yeah.
pointing at the board with like everything going on everywhere. Yeah, make your own version.
That'd be great.
And more votes for socks. Adams for socks. Socks with a how to use it diagram. How to use socks.
How to use
Or how
socks.
to use state charts. Would be quite a lot to fit on a sock.
Yeah.
And stately branded microwaves.
Those might be a little
Fantastic.
pricey. Maybe as prizes. I don't know.
Well,
It's
if
the
you
kind
have
of-
any,
Oh, sorry. It's a kind of like a very British jumble sale sort of thing. Like you get a microwave if you win. I like it.
We can do toasters. Those are a bit more practical.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Smaller.
yeah, I think still pretty tricky to fit in your suitcase
Mhm.
for the trip home.
Yeah.
So if you do have any suggestions of the kind of swag that you want to see from Stately, and of course, if you are about at any of the events that we'll be at soon, you've got to come up and find us and get your hold of some of that Stately swag. I think maybe last week's office hours, I did give a big old list of all of the events that we're going to be at in the next few months. Perhaps I'll give you a reminder of those next week.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything else that anybody wanted to mention this week, folks?
Well, I've got something I want to talk about, which is a bit of shameless self-promotion, which is I'm making a TypeScript course. So if you're interested in learning about advanced TypeScript and learning about the magic that kind of people like Anderist and all the kind of crazy people in the open source world are doing, then I'm going to be collating a lot of that information together and putting out a video course about it. So you can go to mattpoker.com to learn about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of the TypeScript knowledge that Matt talks about does map, no pun intended, map directly to the type of types that you deal with XState. There's a lot of magic happening under the hood and a lot of magic that needs to happen. And so
Totally.
I think I'll certainly have to be joining that. There's no better person to learn from. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. I've got a question from Adam, which is, what is the baseline level of people to take your course? Basically, if you know the basic sort of string number types, you know about sort of casting, you've worked with TypeScript just a little bit, you've looked through the first few pages of the docs, then we're going to be working from generics upwards, basically. So the complicated stuff upwards, which is, it's going to be fun to recontextualize some of that knowledge and make it all make sense, really.
it's also great because there's a lot of baseline knowledge of TypeScript that are in the handbook and docs, but then there's like a whole world of like TypeScript tricks and stuff that aren't even in the docs. So I feel like this is important stuff that everyone working with TypeScript should know about.
Totally.
Well, maybe we'll come up with some cool stuff we can add into the docs as well. It'll inspire us to add more.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Oh, great. And Adam says, sounds awesome.
I'm sure you'd be fine.
So if anybody doesn't have anything else they wanted to mention this week, we thought we would make it a short and sweet one. If you have any further questions that you want to ask us during the week, or if you want to ask us questions for us to answer in next week's office hours, you can always tweet us at @StateTheAI. You can join our Discord at discord.gg/XState, or you can leave us a comment in the YouTube comments and I will come find it and make sure that we cover it next week. So it was lovely catching up with you all, and we will see you again next week. Goodbye.